Welcome back to Titan Vans. I'm Matt North, CEO and founder, and today we got a very special, one-of-a-kind build behind us here. This was built on a Ultra 170 base with a lot of options added on, so we're going to be going through all of those. Because there are so many, we're going to be moving pretty quickly, so if you want more details, make sure to hit that comment or check us out online at titanvans.com. The chassis behind me is a Mercedes Sprinter 170-inch wheelbase, all-wheel drive, so that's going to be the diesel engine with a high-output motor. We're just going to jump right in. We got lots to talk about on the exterior and the interior. So, starting right off, you'll notice on the outside we got a lot of additional upgrades. This customer opted for our Backcountry Offroad package, so that's our wheel and suspension. So on all four tires, we have adjustable shocks. These allow you to tune the stiffness of the suspension on the shock. Stiff, soft, or you can do a custom setting where this knob actually is enabled and you can adjust that to somewhere in between, or as firm as the firmest setting or as soft as the softest setting. So you got those kind of quick settings you can use or do that custom. Again, those are on all four, so we add the shocks to the front. We have a custom wheel. This is an alloy wheel, very nice wheel set. With the BFG KO3s now. This is the new tire on here that's offered by BF Goodrich. Very similar to the KO2s, some subtle differences, but a very nice tire, good rubber, good traction in snow, mud. So a great all-around tire. Is going to add a little bit of road noise, but that's kind of the trade-off you're going to get when you add a all-terrain tire compared to a more road-oriented tire. So better off-road performance, but a little bit more road noise when going down. So also on the suspension in the back, we did a full leaf spring replacement. So instead of just adding a leaf to the original leaf spring pack, we actually fully replaced the leaf spring pack and we tuned that to the weight of the vehicle. So all depends on how heavy of a build you end up getting, depending on the options you add on. We'll put on a specific leaf spring pack to match that weight. You'll also notice we have some running boards. So we have them on the other side as well as on here. So these little side steps. Very simple, non-electronics. We don't really do the electric steps anymore. We just had too many issues with them getting stuck out or not, or getting stuck in, just because they have a lot of hinge points. So we opt for a simpler step. Never had any issues with these, never had any warranty comebacks. They're very solid, have a good look to them. Only partial on the driver's side and then full length on the passenger side to encompass both the passenger door and the slider door. Here you'll see we have side mount ladder. This is by Luminous. This is their new ladder. They're offering it with some sort of L-track connection points, these little dog bone looking things there. You can actually connect things to them. So if you want to mount like roto packs or recovery boards, you can add additional stuff to the face of the ladders now, which is pretty cool. And they get a little bit more of a tread pattern here. You'll notice up top, this is mounted with a custom bracket. So we had to modify the ladders because of the pop top. So we'll talk about the pop top more as we get in, but this does have a full two-person pop top on the top, kind of Euro style. So it hinges open versus a straight vertical pop. But I think it integrates a little bit nicer than those vertical pop ones with the body lines of the vehicle. It makes them a little bit more aerodynamic, a little less road noise. We paint match them to the vehicles, but because of that, it affects the ability to mount to the rails that come on top of the van. Not all vans come with them, a lot do. But those rails are usually what we mount roof racks, ladders, crossbars, those sort of things too. But because of the pop top, we couldn't, so we had to custom make these brackets. So they came out really clean. We also use them for the awning on the other side, so you'll see them there. But yeah, great way to mount these guys and still give all the clearance needed for the pop top. You notice on the side here as well, we have our perimeter lights. So we have 6 lights that go all the way around the van, 2 on the driver's side, 2 on the rear, and 2 on the passenger side. These are Baja Designs S2 Sport lights. It's their flood sort of combo light, so it's going to give you some nice projection off the side of the vehicle, as well as just give you a lot of light spread. So we like these. So if you're going off-road, or even if you're just going down some dirt roads looking for campsites, allows you to illuminate off the sides of the vehicle so you can get better visibility. If you're at a campsite and you want to sort of shine light on the camp area, these help a lot. And then the back ones we really like for when you're backing up. So it gives you more visibility. You can turn them off and on off the rear. Each set, driver, passenger, and rear are all controlled by their individual switch. So that allows you to control each set independently, and we'll show you that multi-switch kit when we get up to the front of the vehicle. As we work our way around, we have a shore power plug. This is an RVIA plug, 30 amp. We have a exterior outlet. So these two things are standard on all of our builds. So every model will have those on here. So shore power is always on the driver's side. We just go ahead and throw an exterior outlet in there just for utility use. If you do need power on the other side, you can always run a little extension cord across. But this gives you all the hookups you need on the exterior. This customer opted for our rear door bike carrier. So we use the Alvan's Sherpa. So that's the plate here that gives you the ability to mount lots of stuff to it. And then these are by One Up. These are their bike trays that are modified slightly with essentially this cable. So essentially just have like a set down point here. And then you can flip this up, load your bike in here with the wheels on. So that's one of the biggest advantages, not having to take the wheels off and on. And then ratchet that down. So as you ratchet it, it's going to tighten onto the tires and hold the bike in place. I definitely recommend throwing a little strap around the tire up here as sort of a secondary, just in case. If your tires ever deflate for some reason, if you're running like tubeless tires, you have the potential for the bike to fall out. So it's always just a nice little safety thing, just throw an additional strap up right there. Also makes it a little easier getting down because you have to kind of like pull down, hit the red release here, and then lift that guy back up to get the bike to release. But if you have that strap there, you can do all that, then undo the strap and bring the bike down. So you're not trying to like hold the bike and undo all these things at the same time. But when you're done with it, what I really love about this design is how tight it packs up. So rather than doing a hitch mount version, One Up does make a hitch version of this. It really tucks in very tight to the back of the van, so you really don't have anything sticking out. No shin buster if you have a hitch mount, and it allows you to operate the doors fully without having to drop or move a hitch mounted version out of the way. You can also remove these. So if you're doing seasonally, if you only bike during the summer or whatever you're sort of, whatever you enjoy, you can remove these. You can add snowboard or ski racks on here. You could add boxes. You could add roto packs on here. You could add recovery equipment on here. Lots of options, as you'll see on the other side here. So as we flip around to the passenger side, you'll see we also used a Sherpa on the passenger side. And the customer opted for our dual cargo box option. So really like this style. Lots of cargo boxes out there now. You can get double flips, you can get doors, all sorts of things. I really like this personally because it gives you like a little workstation and the ability to sort of stage stuff as you pull it out. So all kind of personal preference, but personally I found this to work the best for my use. So if I'm working on a bike or I'm pulling tools out or even just camping equipment, I at least have a little place to set it versus if I just had a big door that swung open, and shelves in there, it kind of makes it a little bit harder to pull things out, I found. I also like, you can add additional stuff up here. So you can add a little rack up on top where you can store like firewood. These cargo boxes are just sort of like infinitely useful for random gear, muddy stuff, extra gas or fuel that you don't want to carry inside. Or just stuff that's, you just need more space for people and gear. They work well. They got locks on them. They seal up nice. And these hinges can hold a lot of weight. So depending on what you end up getting from Mercedes, they offer their hinges in two different styles now. They have a 270-degree hinge, which allows the door to swing all the way open and essentially touch the side of the vehicle. That's their 270. Or they have a 180-degree hinge. It requires you to put the 180-degree hinges on here if you don't have them. So if you have the 270s, you got to switch them out. Switch to the 180-degree hinges. And that's really just the way that Owl has designed their mounting brackets for their hinge. The 270 doesn't have the right holes to accommodate it. Plus, you don't really want a 270-degree hinge on there once you've added stuff to the back doors because it can just swing over and just dent or damage the side of the vehicle. So the 180s are really better suited once you're opting to store things on the back. If you're not, I do like the 270s because it does allow you to swing it out of the way. But if you're putting bikes or boxes on here, At that point, you're not swinging it open 270. It's kind of just more of a liability, and you're going to have to switch them if you opt for OWL. I believe Luminous offers an option that you can do it with either hinge, so it kind of depends on what manufacturer you go with as well for some of your extra stuff. But I do really like the Sherpa from OWL. Makes some nice stuff there. So, all right, as we rotate around, I'll kind of just keep pointing things out. We got the perimeter lights on the rear, so you can see them mounted up onto the top. You'll also see them over here on the passenger side. So in this situation, normally they'd be added right to the rails on the driver and passenger side, but again, because of the pop top and the awning on this side, so we also had to use those custom brackets to accommodate the awning on this side because of the pop top. We mounted the lights to the awning itself so that you could get that sort of good projection of the light off the side of the van so they're not obscured by any of the other equipment that's up there. Kind of speaking of some of the stuff that's on the top as well, with the pop tops on a 144 or a shorter wheelbase, that includes a transit build as well. We do both, and we offer the pop tops on any of our models. But the air conditioning unit, we use a rooftop AC unit. It's not compatible with the shorter wheelbase. On the longer wheelbase, we can accommodate it, but we switched to a smaller AC unit that's 12 volt powered. So these units don't have quite the BTU output, which is one reason why we like our 120 volt unit that we use on most of our builds if customers opt for the AC units. So this has a 12 volt air conditioner unit up top, a little bit less BTUs. I think it's around 9,500 BTUs. Our 120 volt unit has 13,500 BTUs. That unit also has a built-in heater and a dehumidifier. So it's got some nice features in addition, where the 12 volt unit is just a cooling unit. But it fits with the pop top, so that's why we like it. So it definitely has its place and its use. So this will have a 12 volt air conditioning unit on the top. We got solar panels mounted to 330 watts of solar mounted to the pop top. This also has a Starlink that's mounted right to the pop top as well. And then we have a front Max Air fan all mounted onto the pop top. So it can handle that amount of weight, but it can't really handle roof rack storage or an air conditioning unit, which weighs close to 60 pounds. You don't want to put that on the pop top or else it won't be able to open and close. But we can manage the wiring and the weight for those other items. So Starlink, solar, and fan, no problem. It can lift all of that. Obviously, we position them kind of strategically to try and allow for that gas strut to work as well as possible. But we still can accommodate all of that on the roof with the pop top, just no roof rack. And if you're going with a shorter wheelbase, no air conditioner. So definitely a bit of a trade-off. You kind of have to decide what makes the most sense for you. Awning, this is a Fiamma F45S. It's their wall mount version. So this is what you're gonna use if we install a roof rack. Because we have those brackets, they mount right to the brackets, but they're a flat surface on the back compared to their F80 model, which is designed to mount right to those roof rails or to brackets that they supply. And that is not compatible with pop tops or with roof racks or crossbars. So this is the correct option if you're looking to do anything like this. It's a manual awning. We don't prefer the electrics. While they're certainly convenient, just push a button, extend them out, and I do like the fact that they don't have legs that come down. We've had issues with those as well, similar to the electric steps, whether they get stuck in and out, blow fuses, get caught on the slider door. There's just been an array of things that have happened over the years, and so we like the simplicity of the manual awnings. They do require the legs, so they're not fully self-supported, but you have two options for the legs. You can either clip them right back into the side of the vehicle, so we include these mounts. There's one for each leg. This allows you to clip those feet in so you can kind of have the leg that supports the awning kind of angled out, or you can do a full extension of the awning. So if you're doing that, I only recommend about half to 3/4 of the way out on the awning. Otherwise, that angle of the arm just gets pretty extreme and it kind of loses some of its support. So if you want to do that, about 3/4 of the way out max. But if you want to go full extension, then I would stake the legs out all the way, and you could stake them into the ground, so it includes stakes with the awnings. So very nice. I really like having awnings for sun and for rain. Now it's not a storm awning, but it does a good job of, at least you can kick it out and kind of create an eave or a soffit So even if you only kick it out about 12 inches, it's going to allow you to have that slider door open. If it's kind of just drizzling, I'm from the Northwest, we get a lot of just kind of light rains where it's not storming, but it would be nice to be able to have the door open, kind of have some air, be able to look out and enjoy nature, but not have water coming right in your slider door. So I think they have a lot of use cases, and I really think they add a lot of value. One of those things that can be added later on as well. So an easy upgrade option for anyone who's kind of on the fence about it. Okay. All right, continuing on down, I'll point out some of the windows as well. So we have our bunk windows. So these are awning style. So they kick out, they angle up off the side. So this will allow it to shed rain and snow. So they can be used in any weather versus like a slider window that if it starts raining, you got to close it because it's going to be letting water in. So we like the awning style windows. On the Ultra 170 build, and actually on most of our builds, it includes these windows, one on the driver's side, one on the passenger side, awning in the bed area so you can get ventilation both sides. We include a fixed glass window on the slider door. We like the fixed glass from a security standpoint and also just longevity. The unlocking mechanism for the slider door is kind of right here on the inside, obviously on the corner, but if you have operable sections here, it's a little easier to pry up to get access to that. And every time you slam this door, it's a pretty big, heavy door. So if you don't get like the electric door, they do offer 3 different door options. They offer a manual door, electric closing assist, which is essentially when you shut it, it has a little electric latch that sucks the door in tighter. That's the one that I prefer because it helps to deal with any sort of squeaks and creaks a lot better. Or they make a full electric door, but the full electric, you press a button, it opens and closes. But with electric closing assist, it's still essentially a manual door that you have to slam shut. And when you do slam it, these little operable sections can flap and kind of slap, and they get worn out. The gearboxes kind of get worn out. So we like the fixed glass on the slider door, and then we do an operable window on the driver's side. So it has 2 operable awning sections with screens, both on the driver's side, right behind the driver's seat. So those are the 4 windows that are included in the van in an Ultra build. Some customers like to have back door windows. We can add those, or we prefer to get those straight from Mercedes if you want that option. So, but they are easy to add after the fact as well. Okay. Continuing on down, we got the running boards on the passenger side here. We also, on the passenger side, included in all models, 144s, Transit, 148s, 170s, are Porch Light. So that's on the passenger side, so it kind of helps just give you a little bit of light to get in and out of the vehicle at nighttime or to illuminate your campsite a little bit. So that's included on all builds. So even if you don't do a perimeter lighting option, you're still going to have some lighting on the outside of the van. Another feature I wanted to point out, this customer opted for our air compressor system. Pretty slick kit that we put together. It has air compressor fitting, so if you kind of come down here, it might be a little hard to see, but there is actually an output right here at the driver's side, one on each side, so we got one on each wheel, and then also back here on the passenger side, on the rear, passenger and driver side. So there's 4 outputs total, so here's the little quick disconnects. The air compressor is mounted under the hood, so I can show you guys that. It has a dual regulator, so we actually regulate the back set, so on the rear wheels, different air compressor pressure output than the front set. The reason for that is because Sprinters run offset pressures on their wheels. It's typically about 60 to the front, 70 to the rear. Somewhere in there you can kind of, there's a range that you can kind of play with. But they do run more pressure in the rear just because they are a cargo van. They're meant to have most of the weight in the rear. So in this way, we can hook up all 4 tires at the same time. So when you go off-road, you're going to want to deflate. So we have some quick connections that are auto deflators made by Stons. So you can check those out. They're really slick. You screw them on. They have a little spring-loaded valve in there, and you can preset them to a pressure. You screw them on, and they auto deflate your tire. So what I do is when I get to like a washboard road, or if I'm going off-road, it doesn't even have to be serious off-road, but going from 70 PSI down to like 35, 40 PSI is a massive difference in comfort, just going over like bumps and washboards. It's just going to transfer a lot less of that vibration into the vehicle and then obviously into you. So you can air them down. What I do is I'll put them on as soon as I get to the dirt road, and I'll just jump back in the car and just drive for a little while until my pressure gets to where it sort of will automatically kick off with the Stons. And then you can get out, take those off. I don't like to leave them on there just in case, but you can at least keep driving, not to sit there and wait. But then when you get back to the pavement, you got to refill. So we include a hose for each tire that you can click in, and then it clips onto the valve stem, and then you can just hit the button on the dash and it'll automatically air up your tires. We've tested it. It takes about 5 minutes to go from you're fully deflated, whatever that pressure is. Obviously, it's going to vary person to person, to get all the way back up to that sort of 60, 70 PSI. And again, it'll automatically shut off because we have dual regulators, one for the rear set and one for the front. So let's poke our heads underneath the hood. I'll go pop the hood open on the driver's side here. Okay, so over here, you can see the air compressor. It's gonna be a little bit tight, so at least you can probably see the two regulators right there. So we can adjust the regulators to whatever pressure output we want. So one for the front, one for the rear. And then we're using an ARB CKMA 12, I believe, is the model number. Don't quote me on that. Essentially, it's their twin air compressor, 12-volt model. And so you can do a lot of things with this. You can use it to air inflate bikes or motorcycle tires, obviously to re-inflate the vehicle itself. You can use it to air up stuff or blow things off if you're using it sort of as a work rig or if you're doing a lot of bike races. So lots of use cases for the air compressor. No tank, so it does have a PSI. So once it reaches a PSI, it'll kick off the air compressor. And then as soon as you go to draw it, it'll kick on, and it has a pretty good CFM, so the rate at which it can put out air. So it'll keep up with most uses. You're not gonna be able to run like heavy air tools on here or anything, but you can do quite a bit with it. So that's the air compressor system, pretty slick, and we're one of the only people that are doing it with all the ability to air up all 4 tires at the same time. So that's pretty slick. On the front here, you'll see our storm chaser lighting options. So these are the Baja Design LP6 lights. They do offer these in a couple different versions. LP4, so it has 4 LEDs. LP9, this one has 6 LEDs, which we think is ample, and does a really nice job if you're gonna be in bad weather or if you're doing a lot of driving in areas that has a lot of animals. I love having additional lighting on the front just because it gives me a lot more sort of sense of security. I can see much further down the road. It's going to illuminate a lot better. I can kind of see obstacles or potential animals in my way a lot better. So really like these lights. Easy upgrade option down the line as well because all of it kind of happens up here in the dash. But a really nice option to consider. We do offer additional lighting. You know, we can do ditch lights. We have other grill light options, bar lights across the front. So lots of different things we can do. This is a very popular one, and we really like this particular option. So, okay, let's keep on moving. We got lots to go over. So we're gonna transition to the inside, start talking about some of the features here. First off, on the Ultra 170, one of my favorite features is this drop-down exterior table. So what's really cool about it is that not only do you get this sort of outdoor cooking sort of space, prep area, it also has this shelving that's on the inside of the cabinet, has pins so you can adjust the shelving to different height, and then you can also access it from the other side. So there's a door here that acts as a pass-through. So I really like that just because it kind of gives you a lot more flexibility and freedom in the use. So if you have stuff in here that you use both inside and outside, you know, you can access it. So really love that feature on the Ultra 170. This is also on our Metis 170, also has this same cabinet design. We have Bugnets. These are awesome. Big magnetic strip here on the side for open and close, but you'll notice when you roll it up, the magnet actually stays on the side here. Rolls up the actual middle sections here, and then you can also do a partial roll down on this side so you can still maintain access to your door. So I could roll down this. It's got a little Velcro that'll clip on here, but this way I can have no bugs getting in, but I can still use this drop-down table. So we designed that so that it doesn't impede your ability to use it, regardless of whether you have the Bugnet open or closed. And then when you're done with it, you can leave it down if you want, or go ahead and roll it and stow it. This is an option. So the way most of our builds work, right, you start with your base model. So this is the Ultra 170, and then you add on your options. So most of the things we've been talking about on the outside of the van are all options that can be added on. Some things do come standard, like the windows, the porch light, solar panels, fans, those sort of things all come standard. But you have a lot of ability to sort of customize the vehicle, add exactly what you want without having to pay for things you don't need. So versus a sort of pre-built design that you get it regardless, we kind of take a different approach here at Titan Vans. So let me just kick off my shoes here. We'll start getting into the inside of the vehicle. All right, so starting at the front. Mercedes has a lot of different options for the front end. We can work with most of them, and we can also add some things depending on what you get with the van or what you want. In this scenario, this van didn't come with swivels, so we went ahead and added aftermarket swivel adapters here to both driver and passenger side. That's very, very common. I do like the ones from Mercedes, so if you can get those ones, I do like those ones a lot and would recommend getting those from Mercedes. But if you can't, it's not a deal breaker by any means. The aftermarket ones are pretty solid as well. Up front, though, we look for a handful of different features from Mercedes. We like a lot of the safety features. So 360-degree cameras, active cruise control, larger display up front, steering wheel controls, heated seats. Now with 2025, they have the digital rear view mirror, so that's a really nice feature that I do like. So those are kind of some of the standard features that we look for in a van. Those are things that we are really hard to add after the fact. And so we want to get those safety features from Mercedes. Up front here, I wanted to point out the multi-switch. So this panel right here is an aftermarket panel that we install. And this is what gives us the ability to control all those different lights as well as the air compressor all from this multi-switch. So everything ties into there for all the exterior lighting. So it makes it a lot easier to control those different zones depending on what you need on and off. Okay. We also we have our overhead lighting in the van. So that's kind of our general lighting. There's switches for that. We have a switch up here in the dash, so you can control the overhead lights from up here. You can also dim them. We also have a switch right here at the slider door, control the overhead lights. And one more switch all the way back by the bed. So 3 switch locations for the overhead lighting to be able to turn it off and on or dim it from either location. So it just gives you that flexibility. Your porch light switch is also right here. So this right here is standard on all models. So you'll have those 3 switch locations, as well as our porch light switch. That's every model that we do. Another couple of things up here that are in addition. This customer opted for our premium sound package. So that adds a 5-channel amplifier, a 8-inch subwoofer. We replace all of the front speakers. There's 4 speakers up front. We replace all of those. And then we also run wiring and mount speakers in the back door. So when you get that, it doesn't change your head unit at all because the head units are now computers in most of these modern vehicles. We can't change out the head unit because it actually controls a lot of the vehicle functions, like safety features. So we don't change that out. We just tie into that. So we reroute the output for the sound system to that amplifier, and then that sends out all the sound from there. But we are able to control the subwoofer. So we have a sub knob as well as a fader control knob. So the computer up front, when you add additional speakers, since it didn't come from factory, the computer setup doesn't know that there's additional speakers. So we use that knob to essentially control volume to the rear so we can, make it louder or quieter to the back. But you won't be able to control fade like you do on most cars that come with rear speakers. So, some trade-offs there, just kind of a reality. It does add some really nice sound and obviously gives you much better sound quality and, have speakers in the back door. But it won't have that sort of interface on that you'll have with other passenger vehicles. So, okay. Headliner shelf, this is an option, very common. A lot of customers add this one on. I really like ours because it maintains access to these visors. You'll see other headliner shelves that, while yes, they give you more storage up top, they're much lower. So not only do you have to kind of crouch down even further to get underneath it, it also means you don't have access to your visor storage, which I think is a bit silly. So we raise ours up. Still have the visor storage, still get lots of storage. So we actually store the entire marine table up here. So to give you a sense of how big the storage is, it's pretty substantial. So that fits no problem, and then you still have lots of room around that. And that marine table goes right down into the floor mount here, so that's an option that can be added on to any of our builds. But yeah, nice, like the headliner shelves. Really don't have to duck too much to get into them. I mean, you're going to have to duck anyways when you come up to this front area because of the headliner that's already there. So it doesn't really make a huge difference to me personally. But some customers don't like them, and that's why it's an option. Okay. All right, so this is another option we offer for the Ultra 170, which is the ability to carry additional passengers, DOT approved. So the seat with 3-point harnesses right here. So it deploys pretty quick. Can flip it up. Okay, so now you have a 2-person seat. I'm about 6'2". Obviously, this is going to be about the tightest position here. So if you're a little bit taller, you might want to take the outside seat, but definitely comfortable for 2-person. Got 3-point harnesses. Does have child seat restraints as well, so it's got the clips for car seats to click into. But you know, if you're a little bit longer legged, this is a great position because you kind of get that middle aisle to be able to put your legs down. And then if you do want to kind of set up the little eating area here, we can pop that table down. So the leg we mount right to the bottom. And notice how we offset the mount on the actual tabletop here as well. So that clips in, pull this out. There we go. So you got a little table set up here. So it works really well for 3 people. If we made it any longer to accommodate that 4th person, A, it starts to get pretty wobbly, and 2, it wouldn't fit, in different locations. So we opt for a little bit smaller table, but still very adequate, for 3 people sort of hanging out here. Also, because we offset that top, it creates some different use cases by swiveling it around versus just having it right in the middle. We can swivel it to be used in different positions in the van. So kind of just creates some additional flexibility with that setup. So okay, couple other features to point out. Fire extinguisher comes standard on all makes and models. We are an RVIA member, and all of our models are RVIA compliant. We have fire smoke detector and carbon monoxide detector right here. Seat, when you're all done with it, can stow pretty quickly. This is another little feature I always like to point out. I do like this because if we swivel the front seat around, it kind of becomes like a little ottoman. So we like to try and kind of come up with as many uses of things as we can. So that's kind of a nice way to get a little bit more out of these. Okay. Subwoofer, so that's part of the upgraded sound system option there. That's the premium sound system. You'll notice we have the heat output. So the heat for the Webasto furnace, we use Webasto instead of some of the other models or manufacturers, primarily because they have a great warranty. 2 years parts and labor warranty, as well as really great customer service. So we really like working with them. This taps right into the diesel fuel tank or gasoline, depending on your chassis. So it pulls fuel right from there. We set that up about 1/4 of a tank up off the bottom. So we have to put in an auxiliary pickup tube. We set that up a little bit higher so that it doesn't have the ability to drain your fuel tank unknowingly and leave you stranded. So we want to make sure there's always a reserve fuel in there. But taps right into the fuel tank. They put out a ton of heat. I've slept personally in like -20 degrees. Had it be like 70 degrees inside. Now, it does depend on the model you opt for. We do offer a furnace upgrade option, which puts in the bigger heater unit. So you're going to have more heat output. So it's going to allow you to go into colder temperatures more comfortably. The other units will still work just fine. They just might not be able to keep up depending on how cold it is outside. So outlets and USB ports kind of situated throughout the build. We have undercab lighting, so touch lighting here that we have on this cabinet as well as in the bed area. Lots of great storage in the overhead cabinets. We also have an outlet on this side, so the outlet comes standard. When you opt for the microwave, so this is an option that can be added on. If you don't get it, there's just another door right here, so you have additional storage. But if you opt for the microwave, we mount that right there, and we can just plug it right into the outlet that's already installed. You can also use this outlet for other appliances, so coffee makers, toasters, blenders. So just another place to plug in. Really nice big sink. This is something we get comments on all the time from customers. A lot of RV and other camper van builders are using tiny sinks, or even some of those little RV sinks that have like the flip glass lids. If you ever use those, you know why we don't. They're pretty chintzy. It's really hard to wash dishes in them. We just redesigned our top as well to just make it even more ergonomic to pull out. So kind of changed the design of the cutouts here. But really big, deep sink. It's 9 inches deep, 16 inches by 14 inches. So, you know, it's not like your big kitchen sink, but for a van, it's pretty adequate. So the inset here allows you to get counter space back, but if you don't use it, you can always store it in a drawer if you prefer. Or what I like to do is when I go to kind of cook, and if I need to use it, I'll just kind of tuck this right back here while I don't need it, and then just put it back when I'm done. The faucet here has some different options. Has a pull down mode, spray, and then just regular flow, and then temperature control and pressure control, just like your house there. Underneath, we got trash and recycling. We're very eco-friendly here. So we got those both right here on the slide out, and then we can also get access easily to the Webasto unit, so the furnace that's mounted underneath there. So it's designed to go right inside that cabinet there. And we have those 2 heat outputs, one here and then one into the shower stall. So we'll talk about that here in a minute. Lots of great storage throughout. So we use all undermount drawer slides. So you'll see a lot of companies using these little side mount ones. They just don't last. They fall apart. They feel okay at first, but if you have a lot of weight in there and then vibrations over time, if you've had one or you've used them before, you know what I'm talking about. So these undermounts are just much more durable. They're 150 pound rated each. You'll notice all of our drawer boxes are all dovetailed. So again, we're not just stapling things together. There's a lot of ways to sort of save cost when you're building these things. And, you know, people are still charging a lot for them, but in my opinion, they're cutting a lot of corners. And so these are the little details to us in, you know, from hardware to the way these things are manufactured that just make them last the lifetime of the vehicle versus something that you're going to have to be fixing all the time. So while it adds a lot of cost, these drawer boxes are not cheap to make this way. It adds time and money, which is why a lot of people don't do it. It just adds to that durability of the product over the lifespan of it. Even with our latches, we don't use plastic latches. These are all stainless steel latches. So again, just marine latches. They work great. These are called rim latches. They do exactly what they're intended to. I've never seen one fail. So we use a lot of marine products, including our fridge and freezer. So in here, we have the large freezer up top. So this is a drawer fridge, stainless steel, marine grade, made by Isotherm. This is the drawer 130 inox. The inox is the stainless steel, so they do make it in sort of a simpler, more plastic finish on it, but we like the stainless steel. Has an additional drawer down below. It's got your wine holder right there and little shelves that you can move around depending on what you're carrying. So really nice units, 12 volt powered. So if you've been in RVs or something, you've probably experienced what were known as the 3-way fridges. So this was propane that they ran on, 120 volt and 12 volt. And if you ever tried running them on 12 volt, they would drain your battery super fast and they wouldn't keep anything cold. Gone are those days. No one uses those anymore. The new fridges use what's called a Danfoss compressor. And those compressors are much more efficient. They do a phenomenal job. I mean, even in the heat of summer, you can keep things frozen in here and still not be pulling that much power. So they're very energy efficient. They're very quiet. They work. We very rarely, if ever, see these come back in terms of warranty. So they've proven to be very robust. So very nice unit, and we like that. We use different models all made by the same manufacturer for depending on the van base model. Up top, we have the Induction Cooktop. It's a single burner. It's flush mounted, right? So no lip, no nothing, flush mounted right into the countertop. We get a lot of customers that want to just like carry their own induction cooktop. While you certainly can, I think it's much better just have it in place. If you want to use it as countertop space, use it as countertop space. I mean, this is the glass is designed to have pots and pans on it, and you know it can withstand quite a bit of abuse. And so if you want to just use it as countertop, use it as countertop, but versus having to like pull something out, use up your storage space for an induction cooktop, put it up here, plug it in, do all that. It's here. You flip a switch, you turn it on, and you're ready to rock. So I really like having one designed into the countertop space, and the way that we do it, I really think it solves a lot of problems and really doesn't get in the way if you don't find yourself using it very much. And if you want to carry an extra one to use outside, you know, you got shelving and drawers to do so, but you always have one that's ready to go that you don't have to set up and take down every time you want to cook or heat something up. So, okay, that's the kind of cook side. We'll jump into the shower. So, we are known for our showers. We are the only ones doing this shower design. We designed it and built it in-house, and it's got a lot of really cool features. So, starting from the bottom up, we got a teak floor mat. This customer opted to go with a Laveo dry flush toilet. So it always comes with a toilet. Typically it comes with a cassette toilet. We can go into how these sort of things work, but the teak floor mat comes standard. Toilet mounts to the teak floor mat. You can take it in and out. We use an industrial, it's called a dual lock. So it's a really strong connection, but it is removable. So you can kind of pop it out. Kind of think of it as Velcro, but a lot nicer. And so it allows you to pop this thing off, you know, if you don't want it in there while you're showering. But the Laveo dry flush is kind of a cool option. So it's essentially like a diaper genie. It has a bag that you put in, a cassette, a cartridge that you put in. And when you press the flush button, then it sort of seals it up and cuts it off, deploys it into a little cardboard box in the bottom that you can take and you can dump it as you go. The only downside is, it has a battery, so you do have to charge it up occasionally. So we include a little adapter so you can take the battery out, plug it in. Doesn't take very long to charge, not a big battery. You know, the sort of flush, if you will, doesn't take a lot of power, so it'll last quite a while. But eventually you will have to charge the battery up, and you're going to have to buy those cartridges. So the cassette toilets, there's never any additional cost to them unless you want to buy some of that liquid. I just use a little bit of chlorine personally, so it's kind of up to you. But the Laveo, a lot of customers do really like the Laveo dry flush, or we can even do a composting option. So the toilet is stored inside the shower stall. You'll see we have track mounted. This is on all three sides here, so you can strap up gear, so you can hang your skis in here, you can hang your coats in here, you can clip things onto that. We also include a couple additional points up top, so you can run a clothesline across the top right here, hang stuff up, so you could use this as a closet or a storage area. Obviously, you can use it as a shower as well, so we have the whole shower line. So we have the sprayer right here, so it has a little mount that it holsters in, and you can adjust your pressure and temperature. We also install this on a quick disconnect fitting, so you can actually take this whole line down. That way it's not kind of slapping as you go down the road. So we always try and think about designing this thing not only for when you're parked using it, but also make sure these things are quiet going down the road. So you have the ability to just do that little quick release. It just clips right back on when you're ready to use it. You can hang it back up there in the holster. Personally, when I'm using these showers, I just hold on to the sprayer head and I just kind of use that holster as a place to temporarily hold it, but I'm rarely just turning this thing on and just standing in there and using it like I would in a house. It's just different. You're in a van. The other really awesome feature about these shower stalls, so they are stainless steel. They're insulated, 1 inch of insulation, and they have the Webasto furnace is actually ducted. So we have that output right there on the front. We also have a heat output coming into the shower stall. This allows us to use as a drying area. So if you do hang up some of your wet gear, whether it's fly fishing gear, dry suits, wet wetsuits, whatever you got, ski gear. You can put it in here, turn that heater on, open this register up, and use this as a drying area, so it'll all just drip dry right down. The water is just going to go right into the gray water tank that's mounted up underneath the vehicle. But a really nice way to use this as a wet storage. If you've ever lived out of the van for extended period of times and you've taken showers, what do you do with a wet towel, right? Especially in the winter time, it can take days, literally, for those things to dry out if you're just trying to kind of hang it inside the van, even if you have the heater on. So it's really nice to have a dedicated area to hang things up and dry them out quicker. You can also use it as a sauna, so it'll get up to about 160 degrees in the shower stall here. So, it's kind of up to you, but I've used it as that, and it's really nice on winter days to get this thing cranking, come in here, sweat for, 15, 20 minutes or so, and then just rinse right off in the shower. It's a whole new day after that. So, but if you want to use it as a regular shower as well, we have this slide-out system. So, I'm about 6'2", about 200 pounds, so I'll step in here with the toilet in here, but, it's tight, right? My shoulders, if I'm touching the side of the shower right now, I'm pretty much right at the edge of the curtain. So trying to shower in here, it is wider, so if I turn sideways here, kind of straddle the toilet, I definitely have room on either side, so I could make it work this way, but we didn't think that was good enough, so we designed the slide-out system. So you have a slide mechanism here that actually slides out the curtain system, gets you an additional 12 inches of space up top, and then you'll notice that it just tapers back. So the base doesn't get bigger, just this upper area gets bigger. Might be a little hard to see me as I go in here now, but it is much, much bigger, right? This amount of space that I actually have to utilize as a shower space just feels way more spacious, way easier to actually use, so much more functional. And then the center section here just unrolls, and then you can just zip it down. This is made out of dry bag material, so it'll dry out pretty quick. It's going to keep all the moisture inside. So you zip that all the way down. It's got a little weight, and it'll just tuck in behind that little lip right there, so you get all that water sort of going back. You have a magnetic enclosure to be able to get in and out, so you don't have to unzip it every single time. But I found it's kind of nice to at least have the option to unzip this guy, roll it up, so that if you're using it for a toilet or storage area, you're not having to go in and out of that magnetic closure every single time. So just versatility, that's kind of what we try and do with all of our designs. We want to make sure that the design works for as many people and as many use cases as possible. We don't believe in one perfect design, but if you make something modular enough, you can get a lot of uses out of it. Okay, and when you're all done, slide it back. And you just saved a lot of space there, right? So a lot of people are back and forth about the shower stall. If you feel like you need one, I think this is one of the best ones on the market because of how versatile it is. You'll see other people opting for a tray system with a pop-down curtain that comes down from a roof or from inside of a cabinet. The biggest issue is, you got to set those things up and take them down every single time you want to use them, so they're not necessarily the most convenient thing to use. And two, once that curtain gets wet, what do you do with it? If you put it away right away, you're going to be dealing with mold or mildew. If it's the winter time, that curtain is going to take forever to dry out. There's lots of people on blogs talking about these. So, the Storyteller has this design in there, and has a little seat that's in front of it, and people end up just draping the curtain out over the front of that seat to try and get it to dry out faster, so they actually put it away. So while yes, it doesn't take up as much space, you're still going to have the floor space taken up by that sort of tray or that shower pan. And then once you actually put the curtain down, you might have to leave that curtain out for 4, 6, 8 hours for it to finally dry out. You can always put it away wet, your choice, but you're going to be dealing with that at some point or the other. With this material, you can leave it down. You can use the dry air from the heater to dry things out faster. You can leave it down and stow it away and let it, sort of dry out on its own, but it doesn't sort of impede the use of the rest of the space, and it's not designed to sort of stow up and out of the way in a similar way. So we've tried those designs in the past. We've done in-floor trays. We've done shower pans with flip lids, with, walls that flip up. We've done all sorts of things over the years. But if you want a shower inside the van, you want it to actually work. You don't want it to be a hassle to use it, or else you're never going to use it, which is honestly what most people end up doing when they have those curtain setups. So with this design, we find that it's actually a functional use. Other people may vary and differ, and they might love their curtain system, but we design for a lot of different people, and we find this to be the best design and the most functional in terms of a shower. Last couple of features I'll just point out. We have a light for the shower stall up here. It does have 3 different modes, so it has off, it has red light for nighttime use, and then bright for sort of normal use or toilet use there. So, okay. All right, moving on back. So, bed system. This is our double Murphy bed. This is what comes standard with the Ultra 170. Really love this design. You'll notice down below we have another platform down below. So this is our lower tier bed platform, our second tier bed platform. This is an option that can be added on, so it doesn't come standard, but it is pretty slick. So it helps to create multiple sleeping areas, obviously. So you have your upper big bed and then a smaller bed down below. But then also has the ability to help sort of partition your storage in the garage area. So if you're like stacking totes up here, then you can have stuff stored underneath and you're not sort of stacking stuff on top of each other. So I think it's pretty multifunctional. And then it also has the added bonus of converting into another small seat. So if you did want to sort of like have another person hanging out in here, you can flip the bed out of the way as it is right now. It's just got these little quick release pins. And then we can have this backrest fold up. And we just use these little straps right here to tension it. So you can kind of create different angles on the backrest and kind of just creates another area to sit and hang out. Kids really love the lower bed platform. So if you have little kids, they love the little cave design. You got the lighting underneath here as well. But it makes for a really fun time and the ability to sleep more people and still have gear storage underneath. You can always throw a pad down on the floor in sort of a pinch, but this does give you that ability to still have gear storage underneath. So you got 14 inches of space from the floor to the bottom of the lower tier bed platform. So you can pair that with like a slide out tray or just open storage. And so it creates a lot of different functionality if you need it. If you don't have to get it. Pin those in. And then it's also fully removable as well. So if you ever wanted to take it out, these are obviously connected via a hinge, and then that lower the back portion is just its own platform that can be taken in or out. So the whole thing can just be removed if you ever needed to. If you want to go for the full bed mode, so the first thing you'll do is lower the driver side down on this model. So we just have a little latch right here that holds it up. We can release it. We got a little place to store it underneath so it's not dangling down. Back here, you'll notice we have, let's see, straighten this up. Okay, so we have a strap in the back, and then we have a little ledge on the front. This is fully weight rated, even as a single platform. So again, I'm about 200 pounds. It's kind of worst case scenario here, just sitting on one side of it. But the strap does a great job. You can also remove it if you ever needed to. The strap it's got a clip up here, but if you're going to have it in bed mode, you have to have the strap. But the biggest advantage to this design is there's no legs underneath. So it doesn't impede your ability to store anything underneath here. Having additional options like the lower bed platform, slide out tray, etc. The legless design gives you a lot more flexibility. And then we have the mattress here. Okay. So cool. Again, just kind of pointing out some of the different uses here. You can go full bed mode. It's almost a king size bed when it's in full bed. But if you're a single person, say you didn't have the lower bed platform here, you want to just like you're traveling by yourself for that particular trip or maybe all time, you can just set this up as like a single person bed. So you can use this as a place to sleep. So again, I'm about 6'2". I still have probably a good 3-4 inches. My feet are just barely resting against here. I still have some more room. I could scoot down even further. Now my feet are pretty flat up against the shower stall there, and I probably have 6 to 8 inches of space from my head. So if I kind of scoot all the way back, very comfortable. Again, close to a king size bed, but I can kind of set this up as a single person setup. Leave all this open. I've even done this, sort of spent time in this van where I had two people that were staying in here, me and another person. And so they slept down on the lower bed platform, and then I slept up here just kind of with it set up as a single bed. So a lot of different ways to use it. But if you have a couple and you want to go full bed mode, undo the other side, stow it, step down here. So this is going to rest on the lip on the other side, so no legs on this side either. Okay, there's your full bed. So huge bed. You kind of saw how much space I had just as a single person on that side. So two people, no problem. Probably could squeeze two people and a kid or two up there if you really wanted to. We also have the option to clip these cushions in. So we have little snaps right here, which I really like. So then that way when you go to put this away, it's a little bit easier. So I just tuck these up and then flip it up. And then that stays attached with those little clips right there. And hook that up. We'll do the same on this side. You don't have to undo these every single time. It just wasn't hooked up this time. So once you have it clipped on there, you just leave them clipped all the time. So really fast. You can see how quickly it is to kind of convert back and forth, whatever works for you. I also like it because I can stuff my extra bedding. So blankets, pillows. I use a double sleeping bag is what I prefer in a van setup. So versus having to try and find like sheets and then take them off and on all the time, these covers are washable and they're very soft material, so you can sleep right on them if you want. Take them off and wash them when you need to. But if you prefer to have something in between you, I really like just doing like a double sleeping bag. A couple of companies out there that make them, but they'll take up almost this whole area, make it really comfortable to sleep on. And then when you're done with it, you just kind of stuff that sleeping bag off to the side. Once you bring your cushions down, you spread that out, and your bed's set up. It's very fast and easy. All personal preference again, but I find that to be the easiest use case in these. So that's the bed setup. You'll notice up top here, we got some additional rings. These are kind of scattered throughout. These are our ceiling puck mount options. So these just give you some additional strapping points. They're fully weight rated, so we've had people strap hammocks up in here if you want to, or just use it to store surfboards or netting across the top so you can have more stuff areas. You can do lots of different things with them. So it's just one of the options that we offer, but a good one to look at depending on what you're trying to do. Back in the back here, we have USB ports tucked up in this cabinet, so a great little spot to store all of your little phones and chargeable devices. We have additional undercab lighting on this cabinet over here. We have USBs, 120 volt, and then we also have that third switch that I mentioned that controls your overhead lights, those 3 different switch locations there. You'll see the speakers in the back. That's for our premium sound systems. That adds those rear door speakers there. Rear door Bugnets, so that's another option that we offer. Those are really nice, gives you some nice privacy and kind of helps to close it off if you like to have a lot of airflow during the nighttime. And then we'll kind of talk about some of the storage here, and then we'll swing around to the back. It's a little easier to see from the back side there. But we offer, or we designed this with the sort of open face design here, so we call them cubbies. They have really big lips on them, so it's about a 2-inch lip, so nothing's going to come like falling out of here. But we like the open design so that if you do have stuff stored underneath here, if you have bikes underneath here, you can use this storage without having to open doors that are going to hit things that are in your way. So that makes it a little more convenient and functional storage space. And so you have 3 of them. There's 2 right here, and there's a third one. Obviously easier access if you don't have the lower bed platform, but underneath, and the wheel well is in there as well. So it's not quite as big as these, but still some really good storage. This is fully open storage on this side, in this cubby here. This is a door style, so we give you options and kind of want to incorporate different functionality into the van. Here we have our water heater. This is a marine water heater. This is going to supply hot water to all of the fixtures. So that's going to be the shower, the faucet at the sink, and then we also have a exterior wash off the back of this cabinet. I'll point that out when we swing around to the back. Really nice features about this stainless steel tank. Has a pre-mixing valve on it. So what that does is you get really hot water in here. Up to about 185 degrees is what it heats up to. Most houses are going to heat up to about 120 to 140. That's very hot water. 180 would burn you very quickly. So what they do is by heating this water, and then there's this mixer valve up here so you can actually set the max hot output temperature. So the lower you set that, say you set it for closer to that like 120 degrees, well, it's taking that 180 degrees, it's mixing it with cold water before it ever even leaves the water heater and heads for your faucet. You can always mix it down further there. That's going to allow you to stretch this. This is a 4-gallon tank, but functionally, depending on what you set that pre-mixer valve, you can get 6, 8, or even 10 gallons of hot water out of it. The hotter you set that pre-mixer for, the less hot water you're going to get. Now again, that's max hot water. You can always mix it down so you can save hot water by running lower temperatures at any one of the fixtures. So, but works really well. It's a 120 volt unit, so it just has a heating element that sticks in there. It's going to heat up that water. Runs right off the lithium-ion battery bank. And one of the tricks I like to do is that I'll kick this on while I'm driving, so before I get to my campsite or wherever I'm staying for the night, so that I get there and I have 100% battery capacity as well as a full water heater, a full tank of hot water in my water heater. So, yeah, those are nice units. You can see still quite a bit of storage around these as well. These are insulated, so once you heat that water up, it'll stay hot for, depends on ambient temperature. If it's really cold, not as long, but I found on average about 6 to 8 hours it'll stay pretty hot in there and functional before you have to reheat it. And that's if you're not putting cold water in there, obviously, or taking out the hot water. So, but lots of storage around there. You can store whatever you want. This might get warm, but it's not going to get hot to the point where it's going to cause any sort of issue with most items. And then we'll talk about the rear when we swing around to the back. Before we exit, though, kind of point out a couple more things. So this is that 12 volt unit. So this is what the inside looks at. This is by Nomadic. 12 volt, you got controls on the unit itself, as well as a remote control that I'll point out. That's right there at the control panel. And I'll kind of talk about some of those items as well. But you got these little vents here that you can adjust. You can adjust direction, close some off, point them in different areas. I do like that it's low profile. The 120 volt unit that we use sticks down a little bit further. It's only about 1.5 inches, so I don't find it to be an issue at all. But it is nice that it's low profile. But again, trade off in BTUs and features, where this is primarily going to be ability to cool air down. It does have a fan mode on it as well, but it's not going to have that dehumidifier or that heat mode option. So very different, but it's nice to have. Cold air option really helps to extend the usability of the van. Even if you're just driving in hot weather, having a rear AC unit or an auxiliary AC unit that runs off the batteries, the back ones back here, allows you to help cool this space down much quicker than if you're relying exclusively on the registers in the front of the vehicle, right, to both heat and cool your vehicle. So great to have, the 12 volt units are slick, especially because you don't have to use an inverter. Not a big deal. Inverters are about 95% efficient, so it's not like it's using a lot of excess power to do that. And the energy draw of the batteries is the same, right? So this unit right here is going to pull, don't quote me exactly, it's between 60 to 90 amps that it pulls when it's running on max output. Our 120 volt unit pulls about 100 to 110 amps, but it also has 13,500 BTUs compared to about the 9,000 BTUs that this unit has. So can't really compare this unit to our other unit directly just because of that. But from the battery's perspective, it takes about the same amount of energy to produce cooling power. So there's not really much advantage to going with 12 volt over 120 volt from that perspective. Again, you don't have to turn the inverter on, so that could be considered a pro. So here at the control panel, so this is sort of the main area that customers are going to be interfacing with the whole system here. So we have the inverter on-off. That's essentially what this is, glorified on-off. This is going to now send power to our breaker panel here, and then we can control the individual appliances. So if we want to turn the cooktop on, for instance, you can see we have microwave, galley, so that's going to turn our cooktop on. Accessories, so this is actually our Starlink right here. They don't have a Starlink option yet, so we call it accessories, water heater, and then our outlets. So for the cooktop, turn the inverter on, turn our galley on. Now our induction cooktop's on. We can turn it on, adjust temperature, pressure. That's it. So, if we have an air conditioning unit here, it's the exact same thing. Turn the inverter on, flip that switch, turn the AC on. So that's as much as it takes to actually turn a device on. If you want to turn the microwave on, flip the switch. You now have power to the microwave. Use it just like a normal microwave. So really simple use for the 120 volt side. Most everything is on 12 volt though, so even if we turn the inverter off, we still have our lights working. We can still run our fan. We can run our heater. Our fridge still has power. So most items are still going to have power, even with the inverter off. It's only a handful of items that are really required that need that 120 volt power. Here we have the remote control for our fan. So that's mounted up in the pop top right here in that opening, which we'll talk about. I think I totally skipped that one, so before we go out, I'll talk about the pop top. We have our battery monitor. So this is going to tell us everything about our battery. So how much power is flowing in and out of it, the temperature of the batteries. Obviously lithium ions require them to be above freezing to above 32 degrees Fahrenheit, 0 degrees Celsius to be able to charge. So we have a whole system built around that to ensure that you can charge, and we've tested that system thoroughly. We have lots of videos on that specifically, so if you want to learn more, I probably won't go into that video because I've already been talking for quite a while. So water pump, we have heater pads. So this other switch right here allows us to control heater pads. This switch is going to allow us to turn the water pump off and on, so you're going to need to do that if you want pressure at your faucet or in the shower. For the exterior wash, we have a second water pump switch on the back there, so you don't have to run around to turn it off or on. Tank heater pads, so we have heating pads on our gray water tank that's mounted under the vehicle, as well as on our fresh water tank that's designed right over the top of the wheel well. So our fresh water tank is actually stored inside the van. It's a 22-gallon tank, so we got about 26 gallons of fresh water on board with the 4 gallons on the water here. So the tank heater pads are going to help to keep those tanks from freezing in cold weather, as well as help to de-thaw them in the event that you ever freeze them. So there's sort of that built-in recovery with this system as well. So just adds a lot of value and ease of use depending on the situations you might find yourself in. Here we have our Webasto control. So this is our Bluetooth model. This allows you to Bluetooth into it, so you can turn it off and on from driving or from bed. You can also remote start it from your house. You just have to be within range of Bluetooth. And you can set it up on a timer so it automatically shuts off after a given run time, or you can set it up on a schedule so that it automatically turns on at a given time. So lots of nice functionality built into here. Maximum temperature is about 95 degrees. I don't know why you'd want it 95 degrees in your living space, but hey, to each their own. And then this is the remote control here for the air conditioning unit. So you got controls on it as well as a small remote control there. So notice no digital display on our master sort of control panel area here. And the reason being is that those digital displays, if you've ever experienced with their phone, when they get too hot or they get too cold, they stop working. So if you're relying on a digital display to turn on all of your different appliances and it's negative 10 degrees out, all of a sudden that digital display doesn't work. So we like the analog controls. Now, I'm sure there's still digital components involved in these. So for you sort of brainiacs and nerdy folk like myself, yes, there's still digital controls, but it's really that digital LCD screen that we don't like to have in our system. We've seen problems with them. They look nice. They look fancy, granted, but when you're in these sort of temperature fluctuations that we get, and you hit these really extreme temperatures, especially the cold, and your screen doesn't work, I don't care how fancy it looks, you're not going to like it. So we really like these sort of digital, these analog, these physical switches. They don't fail, doesn't matter what temperature they're at, so they're very resilient to the temperature. They work, and we don't see any issues with them. And so this is why we kind of set up our control panel the way we do, because we really want to focus on that long time durability and the user experience. So Okay, let's do a little flipperoo here, and we're gonna check out the pop top. So this is the Euro pop top style. It pretty simple design. Okay, so we have a little fan that's mounted right here. We have magnetic window shades, so we have a full set that is an option that customers can add on. Just magnets right on to the different window or the fan. But this is a fan mounted right through the pop top. To open the pop top, you just have to undo these two safety latches. So there's nothing to like torsion down. You just hit these two little latches, that releases it, and then we can go ahead and push it up. So once it gets up high enough, so this is because of that added weight, it takes a little bit more to get it up past that sort of point because of the solar panels and stuff. But we'll give it a good go here. There we go. Okay, so that got it up. You can see that it has the different windows and screens from the outside there that you can kind of unzip. It does have the blackout, so the privacies that you can zip in, but it gives you a lot of nice airflow here, and even the ability to unzip the whole bug screen, so you can actually use that as an exit if you ever needed to, sort of in an emergency. If you need to pull it back down, it has these little straps that kind of dangle. You can unclip them to get them out of the way if you want, but I like just leaving them in place because then I can just kind of, from here, pull the whole pop top right back down. To get up there, you just jump. No, I'm just kidding. There's a ladder. So we store the ladder right up top. So it's a two-piece ladder, so that's one. And then here's the second piece. Okay, these just slip together. And then it just has a little sort of latches here to secure it. And the little hooks right here just go right into here. Now that's just really to keep it from moving side to side. All the weight's pretty much on the floor. So once the ladder's up, I can climb up here, and that'll give you, you guys can follow me up. All right, so the mattress is built into it. It also has this sort of pod system underneath. So if you can kind of see it, these little flexible things. So you'll notice it's a pretty thin mattress, but because of these, they give you a lot more comfortability with the flex that each one of those guys has. And it's a good size for two adults. I'll lay down so you can kind of get a sense here. But again, 6'2", 200 pounds. Not touching at all. Still have some space in the headroom here. Feels very nice and airy with all the openings here. It gives you some of the best views in the house, honestly. You can still have the fan running if you want even more airflow. Or like I said, over here, we can even zip out this whole bug screen and it gives you a direct pass through to the outside. Or we can zip up the privacy screens. So over here, so this is going to allow it to be waterproof. So if it's raining out or snowing, this is a waterproof canvas. It's fully watertight up here. You can see it's tight. There's not a lot of room. I can sit up here. I don't know if I would hang out long term up here, but you can have this as a storm. The hot air is going to rise, so you can still have this in wintertime. It's definitely not going to be as warm in the vehicle or even up here when you have this popped open. So I don't think this is the best wintertime option, but with a good enough sleeping bag, it's better than a tent for sure. It's a pretty heavy wall canvas. It's sealed. So you're not going to get a lot of airflow like you would with a regular tent. And with the heater, you're definitely going to get some heat up here. So certainly could do it in the wintertime. I've done winter camping with just a regular tent and a good 0-degree bag. And this would absolutely be better than that. So very nice. Again, more sleeping options. So if you really don't want to take up the floor space, or you don't want the lower bed platform because you want to be able to put motorcycles in or bikes in there, this is a great option to consider. Doesn't take long to set up or take down, which is what I really like. We do offer other options such as rooftop tents, but they just take a lot longer to set up and take down. So there's pros and cons to everything, but I do really like this that it's fast to set up and take down, and you don't have to go outside the van to get into it. So I can do everything from inside the van, get up, come down, use the restroom. I'm not having to climb out and go around. And when you're done with it, pull it down and do the 2 safety latches here. And there you go. It does have the ability to ratchet it down as well, so I think I skipped this. You'll see this little mechanism here so that you can actually tighten it down. So you can hook this guy, snug that down even further, and then use the secondary latch. I think I skipped that. Instead that you only had to do these guys, but... Okay, there you go. And then these I just kind of tuck up out of the way so they're not dangling in the face or anything. You know, so compared to other options, I mean, it sets up and takes down pretty quickly. So something, you know, again, they do have a pretty good price tag on them. You know, the units themselves, when you buy them, are about $9-10 grand just for the pop top itself. Then you have installation time as well as paint matching them. So they come out to be an expensive option. So you definitely want to make sure that there's good value there for it. If you need one, but if you do need the additional sleeping and you don't want to take up the interior space, they are a phenomenal option. I do really think they add a lot to the build. Okay, pop my shoes back on. We'll swing around to the back side. All right. So now you can kind of get a better view of underneath the lower bed platforms. You can see there's quite a bit of space underneath here. This customer got the slide out tray. This has integrated L tracks. You can mount bike fork mount adapters to it. It also has strapping points along the side here. It's also fully removable, so it just has knobs on the sides to be able to take it in or out. So really fast to be able to take this in or out if you need to take it to free up space. It's also 500-pound rated, so these are fully weight rated, right? Very strong. Most people aren't going to put 200 pounds right on the end of it. The further you put it back, the better it is for the longevity of the slides, but it's going to handle most people's loads no problem. And with that lower bed platform, with it paired with that, you can still have all that storage underneath plus have that sleeping area. So that's really one of the biggest advantages to that lower bed platform versus just throwing a pad down onto the floor there, okay? In here, we have our water pump as well as all of our control valves. So you can isolate every water fixture in the van. So you can shut off water to the water heater, to the front faucet, to the shower, as well as to our exterior wash. So that pulls out right here. We have the control valve right here so we can adjust the temperature and the pressure. This is I think it's a 6-foot hose on here. You can use this outside, so if you wanted to put them out here, do a magnetic curtain across the back, certainly could use it as an exterior shower. This is standard on all models, so not just on the Ultra. Every model we do this exterior wash. We got the water fill right here, so this is the water connection to be able to fill the water tank up. Once the tanks are full, you'll just see it start to overflow out the bottom of the van, so there's an overflow tube. It's a little hard, especially with the lower bed platform, but we do have a sight slot right here so you can see your water tank, and we do have a tank light that illuminates it to help it make it easier to see that water level. Again, once you add this, it makes it a lot harder to see, but it is there, and that's on all models as well. Down here, we have our master control valve for the water. So this is going to allow us to shut the water off, turn it on, or drain the tank. So it does all three of those things from this one valve. We got that second water pump switch right here. On this side, we have our undercab lighting. We have a switch back here. I think I forgot to mention it, but there is a second switch right above the fridge right there, so you can control these lights from either side. We have a 12-volt socket in the back, so if you need to use this for inflating stand-up paddle boards or mattresses or whatever, you have a little socket right there to be able to plug things in. Additional 120-volt outlet, as well as our master disconnect switch for our batteries. So turning this off turns the whole system off. So that simple and easy to shut the system down. Turn it back on. Takes about 15 seconds, and everything will kick back on, maybe even less. It's acting, it's really on top of things today. It's moving fast. Probably knows that it's cold out here. So this is our main electrical system. This is, I like to tell people, this is essentially like the breaker panel at your house. It needs to be somewhere, but this is not what you're going to all the time. We got 12-volt breakers for all the 12-volt appliances, solar charge controller, as well as the ability to disconnect solar. So if you're taking it into a shop to get worked on, or you need to sort of troubleshoot something, it's nice to be able to isolate things as needed. We have a shore power breaker, and this essentially protects the system. So if you are plugged into shore power, if there's ever a surge or an issue with that power coming in, we have this breaker here before it ever gets to the inverter or any of the other 120-volt side. And then this is our inverter. So this is the MultiPlus 3000 inverter charger. So this also, when you plug into shore power, it will not only send that power, the shore power, up to your breaker panel up there so you can control all your appliances. It will also charge the batteries at a rate of 120 amps. So quite quickly. So depending on the battery bank size, it will help to recharge those batteries when plugged in. You also have alternator charging. This is standard on all models that we do. The inverter is also standard on all models that we do. So you'll have 3 ways to recharge your batteries: alternator, shore power, and then solar. So those are our 3 main ways of recharging. We can add a dual alternator. So this customer did actually opt to add a dual alternator. No matter what, you'll have a alternator charging, but if you add the dual alternator, it'll just increase the rate at which we can recharge. So the factory alternator charges about 100 to 120 amp rate of charge at an idle. So this is not when you're driving. This is anytime you start the engine. The dual alternator will up that to 400 amps. So it will recharge the batteries much, much faster. So if you get into bigger battery banks, 800 amp hours, 1000 amp hours, right? So we're talking, bigger systems, then this will allow you to recharge those batteries much faster. So at a rate of 400 amps, you could recharge an 800 amp hour system in 2 hours of driving, right? Again, idle as well, but most people are driving for 2 hours, not idling for 2 hours. Down below are the batteries themselves. This is really easy to get access to. You don't have to tear the whole van apart or start ripping cabinets apart to get access to it. It's a magnetic cover, so this just unclips. And we can get access to the batteries right here. If you can see underneath there, we have 5 200 amp hour batteries. So it's a 12-volt system, 1,000 amp hours inside this van. So big system. It's the biggest battery bank that we offer for most people. This is completely adequate. This will power most of your needs. It will allow you to run the air conditioning unit. This one in particular, you could actually run for probably close to 16 hours continuously on max output. So with our bigger output unit, because it has more output, it pulls a little bit more power. That one you could run for about 12 hours continuously off of this battery bank. That's with no recharges. That's not driving, not plugged in, no solar at all. So 1,000 amp hours gets you a lot of power to power all of the appliances in here. So let's see. I think that covers most of it. All right. Sorry, we actually ran out of storage on our SD card. I've been talking so long. So this is a monster build. It has so many options on here. There's a lot of other features. I tried to kind of skim over it, but I always get excited and talk too much. So I went a little further on some things, but if you want to learn more about other things, make sure to check us out. Check us out on the website, titanvans.com. Also, lots of other videos on YouTube that we put out covering different models, specifics on some of the options that we offer, the upgrades that we do. We do deep dives into these things. We got lots of good content if you want to learn more about camper vans, what we do, how we do it. Really appreciate you sticking with me. If you made it all the way through this video, kudos to you. I'm sure you learned some great things. And until next time, we'll see you on the road.